Centaur, your kind of company.
Tonight on Ctvv3 News, police never suffered from an avian influenza outbreak. All samples sent to the National Veterinary Services laboratories returned negative. Orange Walk taxi driver faces immigration charges after two undocumented immigrants were found traveling in his vehicle. And relief for those affected by Hurricane Lisa keep pouring in. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Tuesday, November 8, 2022.
Ever since I was a kid, I dreamt of going to Mars. You can keep my dream alive.
Come with me. You cannot, under any circumstances, leave my room, okay? Only for 35 days.
Enjoy your favorite HBO original series and movies with Centaur, your kind of company.
Do you want quick cash for your gold? Then take advantage of Monica's Pawn Shop's big loans on gold and our guaranteed low rate of only 10% on all pawn jewelry. But it doesn't stop there. We also pawn TVs, buy scrap gold, and pawn vehicles that you can still drive. Visit Monica's Pawn Shop today in our Belize City location at number 128 Cemetery Road, our Belmopan location at number 5 Garden Plaza, our Orange Walk location, number 2 Belize Carazal Road. Give us a call at 207-0970 and get more money for your gold jewelry.
That's the way, Everyone, including our elderly, needs to stay connected with their loved ones. With Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program, senior citizens can sign up for 10 megabytes of unlimited internet at a low monthly cost of $25. Citizens over 65 can sign up with a valid ID and receive free installation plus 1 month free on selected broadband plans. Visit a Smart showroom near you for more information on how you can enjoy Smart's Golden Citizen broadband program. Smart, bringing people together.
Good evening with your news, also simulcast on Fiesta FM 106.7. I am Joanna Rodriguez. In mid-September, the poultry industry here in the north was placed under surveillance after a strain of avian influenza was detected, or at least that is what we thought. Because after 8 farms, 7 in Blue Creek and 1 in Shipyard were placed under quarantine, and 28,100 broilers and 2,240 layers in 2 of the farms were destroyed. Word tonight is that it was all a false alarm. According to Armando Cowo, manager of the Belize Poultry Association, 2 Fridays ago, the industry found out that the country had received a false positive after all samples sent to the National Veterinary Services laboratories came back negative.
There's no test that is 100% accurate. And so now and again, you would get a false positive, what we consider a false positive, which means that although it's showing something there, when you go and you dig deeper, you'll find out that there's nothing there, which is why it's important that the the confirmation comes from the World Organization for Animal Health accredited laboratories that dig deeper into the issue to see if they can find the virus. Fortunately for us, the National Veterinary Services Lab of the United States Department of Agriculture is telling us that all the samples that went to their lab were not testing positive for the virus. So basically what we conclude is that it was a false positive. What happens is we send samples to labs, and those labs might come up with a false positive, which needs to be verified by the reference lab, in this case, the World Organization for Animal Health reference lab. Like I said, the NBSL of the United States, and well, they're telling us there's no virus here. So obviously, the other lab in the U.S. at the University of Georgia came up with a positive that we cannot find. There are no more tests pending out there. All the tests that went out have come back. The established protocol is Baja does the test, which they did in country as well, and they also pick up positives, which when sent to NBSL came back negative. Tests have a certain reliability. Now, the capacity of each lab is different. The NBSL lab is equipped with more modern technology that can pick up the finer details. Even if there were pieces of the virus, they would have picked it up. But they didn't find anything, because they also do genetic sequencing. So they would have picked it up. And they didn't pick up anything.
And even if the virus had affected the barns but was eliminated after biosafety measures were set in place, NVSL would have picked up the trace, says Kawal.
What we did in partnership with Baha, we went back to the first barn where supposedly the infection would have been. And we put in there what we call a sentinel bird. That bird was tested before it went in to make sure that it was clean. Those birds were put in the barns. So if the virus was there, they would have picked it up. They would have gotten infected. Okay? Those birds were sampled after the required number of days. They were sampled, and their samples were sent out to NVSL, and they came back negative. So the sentinel birds did not pick up the virus. There are certain diseases that we were screening for, and that is why we were asking Baja to send our samples to Georgia, to the University of Georgia, because they have done some work for us before. Okay? But they were not specifically looking for AI. They were looking for other diseases that we thought necessary to look at. And when everything came back negative for all the other diseases, then the next logical step was perhaps it's AI. Look into it for us. And when they did look into it for us, they came back with a positive. Did they mix up our samples with somebody else's samples? I don't know. We can't speak for them. But we do know that they flag us with a positive. We went into high gear and we started doing sampling and testing across the board. And then we were getting some positives out of the Baja lab. So we said, okay, let's send these to NVSL. But the NVSL is telling us everything is clean.
Mr. Kawaso, the other barns that were tested, apart from the first one, were those samples also sent to the lab in Georgia, or it was simply Baja
No.
their test and saying, yes, positive for avian influenza?
After the results came from Georgia on the 9th of September, Baja went into high gear testing and sampling being done in country, because they have a certain capacity.
Mm-hmm.
They can do serology and PCR, and the PCR was coming out negative, and they were getting some positives in serology. And then we decided to, well, they decided that it needs further confirmation, so they were sending it out to NBSL. But everything is clean. They all came back negative.
So what happened is that we did not wait for those tests to come back from
Right.
ASL.
Right.
We went ahead and we depopulated
Depopulated.
barns that came back positive without waiting for the results from
Yes.
the lab that you're talking about.
Right. That's what happened.
To date, there is not telling what disease the poultry industry suffered back in September, but it was not the avian influenza. So, are we looking at a case where someone dropped the ball? While some might tilt to that conclusion, it's rather a case of prevention combined with lack of communication, says Kawal.
We know for a fact that the process had taken some time. And if it was a positive, and we had been waiting for those results, then we would have been in far bigger trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So we did not wait. We went into meeting with Baha, and Baha said, look, this is what we got to do. And we supported them with that because we know that we have to be cautious.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We have to be cautious. It's a deadly disease, and we didn't want it in the country, and it's not present in the country.
Okay.
So you have to take measures. You can't wait. These labs are not working only for us. They have samples from all over the place, and you join the line, or you don't know when you will get the results. So we work with what we have on hand at the time, and those decisions were made.
The owners of those farms that were depopulated, have they been informed about the fact that basically there was no avian influenza?
Oh yes, we have informed
Farms were
everybody.
depopulated.
We have informed everybody. Everybody knows.
Their reaction?
Everybody knows. Huh?
Their reaction? Any reaction from them?
Well, yes, they're asking us to be more cautious. And we said yes, we're willing to be more cautious. We don't want to just be going out there depopulating at will or at whim. But they also need to live with the reality that they need to pick up slack in their barns as well. Like if they're having problems, they know they need to report to us early so that we can pick it up early if there's any problem. So we will improve on that communication aspect because the experience is showing some communication gaps in the whole system, and we need to address that.
With losses ranging from 7,000 all the way up to 100,000, stakeholders of the industry are looking at compensation for owners of the farms that were depopulated.
We are hoping that some sort of assistance will be given because there's only 3 farmers who really suffered losses. One of them was the biggest one, a big farmer. He suffered losses in excess of $100,000. Whatever help can be given to him would be appreciated. Definitely, he needs help. No one in this country can afford to lose $100,000, and I'm sure that we need to look at that closer and see how best we can get him back on his feet. But even so, there were 2 extremes. There's one big farmer, one medium farmer, and one very small farmer who got affected. And you might say, well, the one farmer lost 100,000, the small man lost maybe, I'm not too sure. We haven't finished calculating everything, but his thing is, he lost perhaps about what, maybe $7,000 to $10,000. But for him, that's gold. So we need to look at this in more in depth and see how best we can move along with them.
The Ministry of Agriculture is yet to comment on the results sent from NVSL. A taxi driver from Orange Walk is in the hot seat tonight after his cab was intercepted by authorities and immigrants were found inside. Around 10:30 this morning, police were on checkpoint on the Yoke Creek Road where they checked the taxi car which was heading to Santa Cruz. The vehicle carried 2 passengers who were found to be undocumented. As a result, the driver of the vehicle, a taximan of San Antonio Road, Orange Walk, was detained. The 2 passengers, 50-year-old Ana Iris Garcia and a 10-year-old minor, both Guatemalan nationals, were handed over to the immigration authorities for processing. On October 28, Belizeans experienced a 6.5% rise in chicken prices. The increase was due to the rise in prices for corn and soybean grains needed to feed animals on farms. While it is expected that prices might go down as the harvest came in, present average prices per pound of corn and soybeans indicated that the current price will remain for some time.
Right now, the bag of fertilizer it has $138 per bag, per 100-pound bag for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which is what farmers use, plus urea, and the urea is more expensive. Just to give you an idea, the price of corn moved from 30 cents around April, May, currently selling right now for 38 cents a pound. Soybean was at around 48 cents. The highest recorded price for soybean recently was 65 cents a pound. And you can see the big difference, right? So those price fluctuations, we take the average. So right now, the average for soybean is like at 58 cents. The corn is more stable. The corn is more like right around that 38 cents because we do have some prices of corn that went up to 39, 40 cents a pound. But just bear in mind that the numbers are very wide. And therefore, we were like, had to face that reality and adjust the price of our products.
As for calculating prices, Kawo explained that the 6.5% increase is on a per pound basis. So if a pound of chicken previously cost $2.75, a pound should be paying $2.81 wholesale with added profit markup for retail. But that increase should not be overly generous to the seller, so consumers are being asked to contact the association at 822-3221 or 615-9694 to make queries and get assistance.
We might see a mixed effect because we might see an effect of price and the effect of the storm because then people will have to start to spend their money elsewhere trying to rebuild. So again, it's hard to gauge. At this point in time, it's hard to gauge. But we're asking the consumers to again to be aware that there are some people who are charging more because I have had calls telling me well, I calculated my price. I mean, I'm glad people are doing this. You said 6.5%, and when I calculated it, I was paying like 17.5%. And I said, yes, that's nice that you have done that, but we at the association can't do much for you because we're giving you the information for you to protect yourself. You need to ask the source that sold you that bird, or why are you charging me so much if the increase was only 6.5%? I mean, and then not everyone can relate to prices like that because there are some people who save their receipts, some people who don't. And this person called me and says, look, I have my receipts from last week and I have my receipts from this week, and when I calculate it, it's this wide. And I go like, well, you need to talk to your grocery store. I mean, why are they doing that to you? But it's information for the persons who are shopping to have in their hands and say, look, you're gouging me. You can actually tell them that because you know that the price increase was just 6.5%, and then you are at 17 or 16 or 15 or whatever. It's not proper.
Of note is that chicken prices are not regulated as are other price controlled items like sugar and rice, for example. The increase also does not apply to other poultry products such as turkey and eggs, the latter of which rose in price earlier this year. While the Belize Police Department as an institution did not suffer any major loss relating to Hurricane Lisa, many of its officers were affected, and Police Commissioner Chester Williams says the department will do its best to help. Williams addressed the media on Monday, explaining that with the exception of flooding in Precinct 1, Belize City, which had some flooding, and the police station in Gales Point, which lost some zinc roofing, there were no major damages reported to police buildings countrywide. The department's vehicles were also secured before the storm and were also unaffected.
There's where the bulk of those officers are. And from a welfare standpoint, we are doing what we can to see how we can assist those officers. Yes, we'll not be able to replace every loss that they may have suffered, but I have already directed the chair of our trust fund subcommittee to see if we can approve at least 1,500 grant to those officers to help to replenish some of their losses. And I am sure that they will be able to get other assistance, perhaps through NEMO or through their respective area representative. But from the department standpoint, we are going to do as best as we can to help them to recover. In terms of our infrastructural damage to police buildings, we didn't suffer much per se. We find that I think only some of the precincts, I think in Belize City, Precinct 1 in particular, that had flood issues. Other than that, I think the police station in Gales Point, I think a zinc or something might have been blown off, but very, very minimal infrastructural damage to our police buildings. In terms of our vehicles, none of our vehicles suffered any damage due to the storm. We ensured that our vehicles were properly secured after we ended our patrols.
The Honorable Ramon Cervantes, Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade and Immigration, and the Honorable Jorge Espat, Member for Cayo West, are attending the joint 13th meeting of the Inter-Parliamentary Committee on Citizen Security and Administration of Justice and the 6th meeting of the Inter-Parliamentary Committee on Financial and Budgetary Affairs of the Forum of Presidents of Legislative Powers of Central America, the Caribbean Basin, and Mexico, FOPREL, today, the 8th of November 2022, at the Legislative Assembly in Costa Rica. The meeting is intended to promote coherent cybercrime legislation and support dialogue between legislators on legislation and international cooperation on cybercrime and electronic evidence. Parliamentarians of the member countries of FOPREL will gather a clear understanding of the requirements of national legislation on cybercrime and electronic evidence, including with respect to the rule of law, human rights, and data protection standards and harmonization with international standards. They will also be able to identify steps towards further strengthening national legislation, and they will obtain the necessary information on the advantages of the Budapest Convention and the Accession procedure. At the end of the meeting, the parliamentarians will sign a resolution on legislative cooperation actions in the field of cybercrime and electronic evidence. The Honorable Cervantes and the Honorable Espat are accompanied by Mrs. Clarita Petch, Deputy Clerk of the National Assembly. The cost of their travels was provided by FOPREL and the Council of Europe. The delegation will return to Belize tomorrow, Wednesday, November 9th, 2022. Coming up next, Norteños join hands and send loads of food, clothing, and bottled water to victims of Hurricane Lisa. Stay tuned.
What is Amnesty 2022? An opportunity for undocumented immigrants living in Belize. Belize wants to help you to live freely and continue contributing to those communities you and your family now call home by offering a pathway to permanent residency. Why should you apply? In doing so, you remove barriers and reduce the difficulties faced living as an undocumented immigrant. Applying is easy. Go online to www.immigration.gov.bz for more information. Find out if you qualify, how to apply, what documents you need, and how to book your appointment. Be prepared. The registration period will be from the 2nd of August to the 30th of November 2022. Belize Amnesty 2022. Let's continue to build Belize together.
LG dual inverter compressor cools air faster by operating at speeds as high as 120 Hz with more stability compared to conventional models. It also saves up to 70% more energy by operating at speeds as low as 10 Hz with more stability. It reduces torque vibration down to 40% for quiet outdoor unit operation. Stable operation with low vibrations also results in increased durability.
When it landed in Belize last week, Wednesday, Hurricane Lisa left behind some $20 million in infrastructure damage. It also affected the agriculture, fishing, and even the poultry industry. While damage assessments are still being carried out in that area, barns in the Spanish Lookout were the most affected by structural damages.
A lot of roofs were damaged in the barns and the poultry industry. We are hoping that we can recover from that as well as quickly as possible. We don't have a high number of deaths in the birds. We are blessed in that sense. Some of the barns whose roof was blown off were empty because they were at rest. They had finished their production cycle. So all in all, I think we got some blessings, although we got hit by the storm, and we'll see how we can recover from those as well.
As it relates to the birds, they were also aggravated by Lisa. According to the manager of the Belize Poultry Association, Armando Cowo, the birds are currently under stress, and with that, harvesting will be affected.
We are seeing their feed conversion being like, how should I say, set back a little. So if they were supposed to be harvested, let's say in 6 weeks' time, perhaps we're looking at 7 or 6.5 weeks. But they're still there, and we will work with those, and we will keep the market supplied. I mean, we have a 2-week buffer stock in our refrigeration facilities at the plants. So it's not like we would be out of chicken because of that or anything. We'll still have enough for everyone.
Assistance for the victims of Hurricane Lisa has been pouring in from all over the country, with the focus being residents of the old capital, where Lisa made landfall as a Category 1 hurricane with winds of up to 85 miles per hour. The Centro Escolar Mexico Junior College's management, staff, and student body have organized a donation drive to be able to assist in meeting the immediate necessities of those affected, especially in the south side of the city.
In order to integrate our community, because we have been hit with hard circumstances over the past month, and based on that, we received outpour support of the community. So this time, because we want to also as well help our Belizean society and the victims of Hurricane Lisa, and based on that, we want to also invite our community because we're located in San Roman and we're surrounded by Santa Clara, San Roman Village, San Narciso, Louisville, San Victor Village, and for those nearby villages that also want to show their solidarity and want to help. And so therefore we open and extended the invitation to not only for it to be our students only, but whoever wants to assist in any form. We focus on items, any items that people are willing to donate, ranging from basic um, household items like non-perishable items like flour, rice, sugar, cooking oil, and canned foods. Like sausage, cornflakes, oats, and toiletries, personal hygiene products, and obviously not forgetting the material loss in terms of clothing, because we saw a couple of Facebook posts whereby people were asking for clothing. So we added that as well, both for men, women, and children. And also, interestingly, there were other persons who asked if they can donate toys, and why not? Because especially for our young ones, to help them with the trauma and to have some sort of hope in a symbolic way of a toy, and I'm sure that that will help them be able to cope with the situation a little bit better.
Deadline for drop-offs will be this Friday at the CEMGC facilities in San Roman, Corozal. As per the logistics, it will be finalized before the week ends so that all the donations can be transported to Belize City, where an identified organization will engage in its disbursements. Honorable Christopher Koyi, Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance, Economic Development and Investment, delivered remarks on debt swaps for climate and nature during a high-level session hosted by the International Institute for Environment and Development on November 7, 2022, at the 27th session of the Conference of the Parties of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Minister Koyi recounted the economic, social, and personal losses associated with hurricanes Julia and Lisa, which have contributed to the average annual losses of 4% of GDP that have become the norm for Belize. He used the phrase "one step forward, two steps back" as a fitting characterization of Belize's experience with climate change. Minister Koyi stated that debt swaps, if favorably concluded, can constitute that giant step forward in the right direction, both for conservation and the economy. He described Belize's debt swap transaction as a success story of what is possible when developed country institutions support vulnerable state-led initiatives through facilitating the access of capital at scale and in a timely manner. COP27 is taking place from November 6 to the 18th, 2022. Over the next 2 weeks, Belize's delegation will attend high-level meetings and interact with international institutions, funding agencies, and partners to share Belize's experience in the face of the climate crisis and to learn about opportunities to leverage resources that will help further the country's climate change agenda. The Energy Unit of the Belize Ministry of Public Utilities, Energy, Logistics, and E-Governance is looking for talented high school students in Belize to enter a national short video competition as a part of the annual regionally celebrated Energy Month in November 2022 to raise awareness and inspire vision to the theme, "Our Future is Electric." It comes with a handsome cash prize if your video places first, second, or third. In fact, should your video win, your school and you get an individual prize. You see, electricity services have paved the way for many technological advancements, which makes our lives more efficient, productive, and most intriguingly, they have unlocked a boundless portal of information, sharing, and communications. The energy movement has empowered not only nations but every individual resident to have a voice and to be a part of shaping the future in a unique and personal way. These are some reasons why the ministry is seeking video entries that will raise awareness and inspire vision about the means and significance of Belize's sustainable energy transition and the trend towards an electric future. The winning entries must fulfill all contest requirements and will be featured on various media platforms within the energy sector. The video must be all original content. Entries can be submitted individually or by teams of 2 to 4 students. Completed and signed entry forms must be submitted by the administration of your educational institution along with the video entry and one or more copies of a valid photo ID of each team member. Now, the best part is that there is no entry fee and you can win up to $2,000. Submissions must be made via email to secretary.energy@energy.gov.bz. Winning schools will be announced shortly after the submission deadline. More information is available on the Lead Up Belize Facebook page. Caribbean International Brewery Company Limited, the mother company of the infamous Mine Beer, has also come on board to aid those affected by Hurricane Lisa. Images provided to our newsroom show the owner of CIB and other employees stocking up more than $15,000 worth of bottles of purified water destined for Belize City.
As a responsible corporate citizen, has seen the need to intervene after the devastation of Hurricane Lisa. And the management has decided to donate a value of $15,000 of H2O purified water to NEMO in order for them to be able to distribute to the most needed after this hurricane. This is the way the company is giving back to our Belizean people after them being support to our company. Personally, the boss was the one that was emptying his warehouse to send the water to Nemo.
The beer company has also made financial donations to 4 institutions that were ravaged by Lisa.
We have decided to donate $20,000 to 4 institutions. 4 checks of $5,000 each. First, to Sister Cecilia Home for the Elderly, Dorothy Menzies Child Care Center, to Belize Red Cross Society, and to the school, primary school at Doublehead Cabbage, in order for them to assist in the repairs of the school.
I did see that that particular school was damaged severely with the roofing because it looks like everything got wet up. So I think, I don't know how you've coordinated with the spending of that $5,000 for that school.
Well, we see from the media that they were asking for help in order to get assistance in the repairs of the school. So we managed to contact the chairman, and because he was requesting the help, and we managed to contact him and give the assistance of $5,000.
And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Wednesday, November 9th here on Ctvv3 and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at ctv3belizenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/ctv3belizenews or our YouTube channel at Ctv3 News BZ. Remember to wash your hands and remain safe. From all of us here at Ctv3 News, thank you for watching and listening. Good night.